And
Where?
Jean, if she comes.
Come on.
We're waiting for Jean. We're going to bring Jean in. Kim, ready from Channel 5?
Ask some questions.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The good news is that as of Tuesday, Clinton County will have the ability to, will have a line of credit established at Key Bank, where our county account is located, and be able to draw down $1 million of HUD funding. Now, we will not draw down on that money until the county legislature has prioritized all the different requests that have come in to the county planning office. And by March 11th, Rodney Brown assures me that all the requests that are coming from individuals, municipalities, etc., we'll have those prioritized, and then the legislature will have to decide if the priorities that Rodney is suggesting are correct and what we will fund. But we, as you know, for 3 weeks, I should say, we've been promised this money. It will be in our bank account, we understand, as of Tuesday. We will not draw it down, as I said before, until about the 11th of March or thereafter. And as you know, the 6 counties were pledged $12 million in funding. And because of the damage sustained in Clinton County, particularly by homeowners and agricultural enterprises, we are going to ask for several more $1 million of HUD funding, without a doubt. Because we believe from preliminary discussions and estimates that we've been able to make, that the loss of money, the loss of property, and other things, it totals almost about $10 million. And now there are other areas that are going to provide some of that funding, but we're going to take and ask for several more $1 million of HUD money. And HUD doesn't know that until they see it on television, hear it on Wiry, or read it in the Press Republican. We're going to do that. We've had several meetings and discussions with federal and state agencies to determine the guidelines for expenditure of the HUD funds. We want to have proper coordination with the other disaster agencies. And last Wednesday, the county legislature approved a strategy for disbursing the initial $1 million. The strategy is designed to help communities, homeowners, businesses that were most impacted by the storm, but may have not been helped by other funding sources. The County Planning Department will implement the strategy, and the director of the department, Rodney Brown, is here to explain the details of the strategy and how people can take advantage of this money to help recover from their losses. And even though the initial shock of the storm is over, we must press on with programs such as this one to help our citizens get their lives back to order, to normal. We will certainly be requesting additional funds, as I said, of at least $3 million. And now I'd like to turn the news conference over to Rodney Brown, who will explain the strategy that we're going to use. Rodney?
What I want to do is I want to outline the specific activities that we want to fund with the HUD monies. But before I do that, I want to make a few points in general with regard to the monies. The part of the reason that it's been such a time gap between HUD announcing the program and the ability to actually draw down the monies is because of the existence of all the other funding programs. We wanted to make sure that this money was reserved for the best means possible. We wanted to try to identify those individuals and businesses that fell in between the cracks, that were not going to get funded through some of the existing funding programs. And it took lengthy discussions with state and federal agencies on their programs to determine what those might be. And those helped frame our strategy for dispersing the monies. One of the things that we want to emphasize is that people should continue to call the 1-800 number for FEMA, and that is 1-800-462-9029. That is open, and people are eligible to call that number until March 10th. And that's important that they do that. I've heard a number of people that have called our office and have not yet taken advantage of that, and I think that they were eligible for funding. They really do need to call that number, and it's not too late. Second, as Don mentioned, we've identified the strategy to be broad-based. We want to try to help all categories of individuals and businesses and try to target the money where it'll do the most good for those that are most impacted. HUD, it's important to emphasize that HUD focuses on 2 items. One, that these monies are supposed to be used to alleviate public health and safety threats. And two, that the monies are primarily to be used for the benefit of low and moderate income persons. And I think that that's important to know, and you'll see as I identify our activities that we'll be prioritizing that that is included in the criteria. The first category of activities that we're going to be funded will be municipal. And there are two items under the municipal. One are costs incurred for emergency response efforts not covered by FEMA. So the towns first have to determine what FEMA is going to cover, document that, and we will cover the remaining amount. Generally, FEMA covers 75% of those activities. The state will pick up 12.5%. We'll use the HUD monies to pick up the remaining 12.5%. And I think that's significant for the communities that were really out straight through the disaster, to know that they will be made whole with this funding. And those are such things as the labor and the equipment involved in during the first couple of weeks of the emergency, where they actually had to get out there and move debris out of the way in lines and help individuals. The second item are costs necessary to repair damages to public facilities not covered by FEMA. Again, this will be the 12.5%. I haven't heard of a lot of these type of damages, but I have heard of some sewage treatment plants that were damaged as a result of floodwaters and some utilities. And this money will also be available for those costs. The next category is nonprofit organizations. Nonprofit organizations that have facilities open to the general public are also eligible for FEMA monies. Again, we will cover damages not covered by FEMA, those 12.5%. In many cases, even after their insurance, they don't have enough money to really repair the damages, even with the help of FEMA. We will come in and assist them so that they can make sure that their facilities are just as good or better after the emergency as they were before. The third category are homeowners and renters, and there are two items that we will be covering for that group. The first is costs incurred by senior citizens, and we're defining that as 60 years and older, and disabled individuals to clean debris caused by the storm at their primary residence and to deposit the debris at the edge of the road. And I think that this is significant. I mean, if anyone's traveled throughout the North Country, they know how much debris is in private yards. And that poses a threat both to the people visiting those yards and the inhabitants of that residence. So we're going to be utilizing these monies to go in for the category of people that are least able to do it themselves and don't have the means to do it themselves. That's the elderly and the disabled. Disabled individuals must be certified to receive SSDI, SSI, Railroad Retirement Disability, or have certification of legal blindness from the Commission for the Blind and Visually Handicapped. And that's standard language that's included for disabled exemptions. Those individuals who believe they're eligible should contact the Planning Department at 565-4555. That's a new line that's been created specifically for people to call in under this program. That's elderly and disabled who believe that they have debris that they need to help cleaned up. The second item, and that's for homeowners and renters. The second category are only homeowners, and that's costs incurred by income-eligible homeowners to repair damages to their primary residence caused by the storm that are not covered by homeowners insurance, FEMA, or a Small Business Administration. The individuals must show documentation that they contacted these programs and either did not receive sufficient funding, were denied funding. Eligible income guidelines I can distribute to folks. They're based on the number of people in each household. This is an example where we recognize that FEMA and homeowners insurance in all cases might not be adequate to help people repair the damages that were sustained by the storm. We can use these HUD monies to come in, to identify those situations, and provide the necessary money to make the repairs so they can move back into their homes, and it can be in the same condition that it was beforehand. The last category are businesses. For businesses suffering losses due to the storm, funding assistance is necessary to allow the businesses to continue their operations. Businesses must be able to document monetary losses due to physical damage and must be able to document that other forms of assistance are unavailable. Businesses must also document that a majority of the employees at that business are of low or moderate income, according to the guidelines. This is one of the few avenues of outright grant assistance that are available to businesses, but they have to show physical damage. It can't be a loss of business because there weren't as many people shopping during the days of the disaster and immediately after the disaster. They really have to document physical damage. And if it's not covered by insurance and they don't have any other means, we can step in with the HUD monies and help those businesses out. And again, those businesses should call the planning department at 565-4555. Now that's for both ag and non-ag businesses. We recognize that there are huge losses that have already been identified in the ag community for dairy farms, for apple orchards, for maple producers. The governor announced a program yesterday. I think that there will be some from the federal level, but this is another avenue of assistance for them. And we're going to have a committee of ag experts that will be organized, and I understand that it's going to be organized by County Legislator Joe Giroux, to assist us in reviewing applications from the ag community to help us decide where the money is most needed. And I think it's important to note that people should call this as soon as possible because we are going to be establishing priorities. And the more requests that we have in, the better we're going to be able to document the need that we have and apply for additional monies for HUD. My last point I want to make is I want to stress to people that for most of these programs, we will come in only if they're not being helped by other programs. We don't want to duplicate benefits that they're receiving under other programs. So they're going to have to be able to document that. So I encourage everyone to contact the 1-800 number provided by FEMA so that they can go through that program before they contact us. Thank you.
Questions? The lady on my left here, Jean Quantock, who's our Deputy County Administrator, and has been working so well with us while bingo goes. We may do away with bingo's position because Jean is doing such... Don't... Oh, gee, I'm on the air. I better be careful. But Jean is doing such a great job. She'll be working closely with Rodney on this also. So we've asked her to join us here today. But do you have any questions of Rodney or Jean or myself?
You said that you think the total damage would be about 10 million.
10, 12 million.
That's for the whole county?
Yes.
Okay, that's for everything?
Yes. We looked at some preliminary figures, and it looks like it's in the range of 10 or 12 million dollars.
And that's 10 to 12 million that we don't think are covered under existing
Right,
programs.
right.
I think there's going to be far in excess of
yeah.
that of total damage.
Okay. That's,
Yeah, I'm glad you.
Not covered.
There's much more than that. That's what we've identified.
but would you FEMA and insurance, did that cover the bulk of
I think it's going to cover the bulk of the homeowners. Between homeowners insurance, private insurance, and FEMA, I think that will really cover a large majority of the homeowners. But there are going to be a few homeowners out there that their property was so substantially damaged that once you go beyond a certain amount of damage, FEMA won't cover it. And I think that, and it will have no other outlet, especially for the households that don't have high incomes. And I think that this program is going to be a real savior in those cases.
Anything else?
You said businesses have to show physical loss.
Yes, loss to inventory, damage to business or building or equipment.
If without electricity, stuff in the cooler spoiled, stuff like that?
That would be inventory, yes.
In most cases, we need to have some documentation.
Yeah.
And we told people, I can remember even the second day of this when people were indicating losses. I've always said to them, a lot of county officials said to them, Gene and Bill, remember, keep all receipts of your losses. And it's very important to have those in order to get reimbursed.
And we'll work with people that call in. I mean, we have a pretty good understanding of a lot of the other programs that are out there. and we can help them identify those programs and assist them with applying so that they can determine their eligibility into those and therefore the need or no need for these HUD monies. So we can assist them in that effort.
I would hope that we could, with FEMA, SEMA, with the programs the governor is providing money for, the special legislation, that we could take care of everyone in Clinton County who had a loss of some kind. And it would be nice, we'd like to know, and when this is all over, if that was not the case, because it would be wonderful if we could do that, and we hope with all these funds that are coming in here. I just can't believe the governor coming here 4 times, and I don't say it because I happen to be of the same political party, but it's one thing to come up here and take a trip at the initial stages of the storm, and then you don't see anybody thereafter. I mean, you know, they come up, they make an appearance, political-wise, but I mean, this person's been up here 4 times, unbelievable. People say to me they can't believe it, people of all parties. In fact, there was a good Democrat downstairs just telling Danny Mitchell at the elevator as I was coming in, they said, this guy's been up here 4 times, you can't believe that. Because, you know, the whole story is we've got more trees than people, as far as people in Albany are concerned. And for him to come up there like this is unbelievable, and we certainly appreciate it. I hope most people do appreciate it. And I hope that when it's all over, what he's able to do, what Stafford and Ortloff are able to do with special legislation, and through all our efforts here, especially Rodney's and John McHugh's, and I hope that everybody can recover any monetary losses. It'd be interesting to know if they can. We hope that we get some handle on it so we can find that out, and then we'll do what we can to help those people. And then people do fall through the cracks, you know, and hopefully we can help those people too, because there's also a certain number of people that, for everything that's available, they just aren't there. Yes, ma'am.
When are you going to be asking HUD for more money?
They've given us the time frame that they would like would be the end of March, beginning of April, because they have their regular funding programs, and they want to know how much of the money that you need to reserve for this one before they make those decisions.
And they told us, remember now, they told us that we were one of the 6 counties, in their opinion, that was hardest hit. And so I would assume that we're entitled to at least $2 million of the 12 and more. I mean, I would assume they're going to probably try to divide it up $2 million each county, but I would think we would get more than $2 million because they said this. In their observations and going around, they said we were one of the hardest hit counties, in their opinion. I think the guy said it here the day we were here in McHugh. So hopefully we'll and this will be I didn't realize, Rodney answered that question. I didn't realize it was toward the end of March. That'll be good because by that time we will have a pretty good handle on what we need in the first round, go around. I think we're well organized, thanks to a lot of people. Clinton County seems to be very well organized. And I don't know what the other counties are doing, but I know that things seem to be falling in place here very well, and that's thanks to Gene and Bill and a lot of people, Rodney, and thank goodness Rodney has agreed to take on this assignment because he is the planning director, not the emergency funding director.
Although sometimes I get a little confused in those 2 roles.
I don't know why, Rodney. Yes, sir, Calvin.
I'd like to point out, first of all, Don, we no longer have more trees than people. You know, I have more people than trees.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, I'll stand to be corrected.
Yeah, Rodney, is there a classification of people? You say a lot of people come in that haven't called FEMA. Is there a particular group that hasn't done that, or is it just here and there?
I think it runs the gamut. And we also get people who have not called because they just fear that that there's a bureaucracy that they're going to confront, and that they're not likely to be successful. They probably won't meet their criteria. I encourage them to call. You're going to invest a few minutes, and you're going to find out whether you're going to be eligible to receive badly needed monies. So you know, they're still receiving calls on the 1-800 number. I'm still encouraging people to call because you know the big difference is that the FEMA monies are unlimited. The more people to call, the more money that's going to flow into our area to provide assistance. The HUD monies, there's going to be a cap. There's only going to be a certain amount of monies that are going to be available. So we're encouraging people to call that FEMA 1-800 number.
What's the number again? Sorry.
For FEMA?
Yeah.
1-800-462-9029.
That's it.
What a
That's
mind.
it. That's
what
good,
a
Calvin.
mind.
10,000
Yeah.
times. Well, one of the things that I've observed is that I think a lot of independent business people aren't aware that the Labor Department is providing some assistance in some cases for these people. Is the county doing that, getting that word out A lot of
Assistance, you mean manpower or
no,
money?
I'm talking
Money.
unemployment insurance.
Oh,
Even though, normally if you're self-employed, you're not eligible for unemployment, but
We've
in this
had
case
very
you
few
are.
businesses call in. It's been mostly homeowners calling in because I think most businesses perceive, and it is the case, that it's primarily loan programs, so that they're not really calling out for grants because there hasn't been any grants advertised for their benefit.
But this is unemployment insurance will pay self-employed people who are unable to work. I think people aren't getting that word.
that's interesting.
I hadn't heard that either,
No.
quite frankly.
I know,
That's
I'm
something,
getting,
is
I'm
that
getting
something,
$77, I know.
is that something the state labor department should do? I wonder?
Somebody should be spreading the word.
Maybe Gene could, yeah, that's a good point, thank you. Gene will make a note of it, do something about it. Anything else? Do newsmen get paid for working overtime during the ice storm?
Yes, well paid, I've heard.
Well paid.
$77.
$77. Anything else?
Whether reported accurately or not.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming, appreciate it.